Motion by Mr. Lawrence, second by Mr. Tisdale. All in favor? Unanimous vote. Brings us to the presentation agenda, mayor's report. Then we don't have no departmental report. We go to council report. Mr. Lawrence?
No report.
Mr. Gaines? Mr. Tisdale?
No report.
Mr. Glavin?
No report.
Mr. Shoemaker? All right. This brings us to the public agenda, citizen comments. Do we have anyone on my left that would like to get up and speak? Not you guys. Anyone else? Anyone on my right that would like to speak? All right. Anyone else in the room? No? Citizen comments are now closed. This brings us to the policy agenda. Now you're up. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Why, yes, of course. Floor is yours.
All right. My name's Derek Gates. I'm the president of our local.
Can we get 2 mics? Yeah, thank you.
I'm not planning on doing mine, so I'll get
Make sure to speak loud into the mic so the internet can hear you.
Okay. Can y'all hear me now? All right. I'm Derek Gates. I'm the president of our local here in Biloxi. This is our district vice president, Danny Todd. I'm not really sure how we're supposed to go about this.
Just make a presentation, right?
Right there.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President and City Council members. I appreciate the opportunity to be before you today. My name's Danny Todd. I'm a retired firefighter out of Memphis, 28 years. Today I have with me Thomas Malone, who's District Field Service Rep for the International, who many of you I think have met in the past, who's did some work here in Biloxi with the fire department and our association. I'm 14th District Vice President, currently serving with the International Executive Board. We come to you today to ask the City Council, and I want to pass something out before I get started. Come
Thanks,
before you.
Chief.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Thank you.
We come before you today to ask the City Council to formally recognize the Biloxi Firefighters Association, International Association of Firefighters Local 1583. With the recognition would come the right to sit down with management to discuss our issues such as health and safety, wages, benefits, hours of work, disciplinary procedures, grievance procedures, code of conduct, labor management meetings, and other items each side would like in an agreement. Passed out to you what are the benefits of collective bargaining. It gives our firefighters a voice and a seat at the table, especially as it relates to our health and safety issues in our workplace. It improves employee morale, better recruitment and retention. The IFF as an organization has programs that benefit fire departments such as our IAFF and International Association of Fire Chiefs Fitness Wellness Program, which we jointly developed. Our hazmat WMD training, which is free to fire departments and is currently being taught here in Biloxi Fire Department. Our grant writing assistance program, where we can help with Fire Act grants, safer grants that deal with the fire department. Our candidate physical ability test, known as CPAT, which is used by many departments in Mississippi for hiring. Having a good labor management relations provides benefits for all. Reducing your agreement to writing provides a framework that we all operate within. There are current agreements in place in Pascagoula and Gaucher. Those have worked well for many years. For over 30 years in Pascagoula, they've had an agreement, and over 20 years in Gaucher. An agreement will and should come back to this City Council for approval, and you will have the final say. I thank you for the opportunity again to speak and would be happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
Any discussion?
Yeah,
Yeah, I may have a few questions. Hi, Derek. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Danny, I can't remember if I met you before or not. Maybe had I
You
met
met
Dan?
Mr. Tom and you met
I
Mr.
don't
Pete Reagan.
All you people with hair look alike, so it's. So Pascagoula and Goche have recognized the unions, you said, for more than 30 and 20 years respectively. Pay-wise, what's the salaries over there compared to Biloxi's? Do you know?
I don't, I think at one time, right after the casinos opened for a few years, I knew Biloxi was the highest paid on the coast. I don't believe that, I haven't done a survey recently, but I don't believe that's the case anymore. I don't believe Biloxi is no longer the highest paid on the coast.
Just from some rudimentary research on my part, I can't say definitively that we are, but we're probably up there close to the highest paid, maybe on the
I
coast.
believe I've been told Harrison County makes more than Biloxi, Harrison County firefighters.
And in checking, I believe d'Iberville does. And it depends on the rank, I think, and when you compare, positions and so forth, and some positions are titled differently. And I don't know what sort of benefits the other cities have. I'm sure it varies in addition to salary, what that might be.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I don't think you'll present an answer, but I'm curious, can you give me an idea of how many of the firefighters are union members?
Over half.
Over half, okay, thank you. I don't have anything else at the moment. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Danny.
Anyone else?
yeah. If half of them's in and half's out, how you handle the half that's not in?
I'm sorry.
If half of them's in, half of them's out of the union, how do you handle the ones that not in it?
Mississippi is a lot of states in the South, is a right-to-work state. That means you cannot force someone to belong to a union. But in a bargained agreement, you bargain for certain ranks, and all the ranks would be covered by the agreement, whether they're out or in the union.
So it's basically you gotta help them anyway.
Yes, sir.
When they're part of the fire department, they're all in.
Yeah, whether they're in our union or not, they're covered by the agreement that we negotiate, and any benefits that we negotiate, they would also get, whether they have a union card or not.
Right. And Chief, since you're sitting there, they have it set up, Chief Miller, do y'all have anything set up like that in the police department? Or y'all totally separate from that? Because our public safety to the city is like one unit to us, the fire department and the police department. And that's how we treat it. It's probably 70% of my employees are in the police department or the fire department.
Yes.
So we always consider that public safety.
Yeah.
So that's what we have to look at as the city itself. Like you said, now you have to,
I would say there's things in our agreement that would be unique to the fire department that wouldn't apply to the police department. Like we work 24-hour shifts. So we would discuss how our shifts work, how our sick leave works, how our vacations work, things like that. And seniority would be described as seniority within the fire department or seniority citywide, not necessarily. So there are some unique things. Now, you may want to keep, and understand a lot of cities do this, they actually have pay parity, so you may want to keep pay parity. I'm not sure if you have it here right now or not, but, pay parity for public service, public safety is unique in some cities where they maintain parity between fire and police.
I know just like right now, like Paul said, we're behind a couple cities where we used to be the best. And so we have to go up $7,000-8,000 per person. It's the fire department. If y'all labor union come with that, then we'd have to do the same thing with the police department. And you have to keep those. So we have to look at that how much that would cost the city in the long run when you got like 400 employees, that all of a sudden you have to increase $7,000, $8,000 a year just to go to what you come with. But I mean, that's something we have to look at besides just recognizing the fire department as the labor union.
We
That's what
understand.
y'all looking for, correct?
Yes, sir. I think you're correct. We understand that. That's why I stated any agreement that would be reached at the table with management would have to be brought back before this city council for approval, because y'all are the funding body of this city, and you have to approve anything we put in there. Not only items that would require funding, but any items we have in our agreement would come to you for an approval.
Well, could we do that even without recognizing y'all as a union?
But we're not guaranteed a seat at the table. If you guarantee us through some other mechanism a seat at the table where we can discuss issues, right now they're not formally recognized, so we're not guaranteed a seat at the table. And I'm a firm believer that if the men and women of this fire department, this association, are willing to risk harm and sometimes their lives in the performance of their duties, they should at least have a seat at the table to discuss their working conditions.
I understand. I've been there 23 years, and I don't think we ever turned anybody down. The fire department or the police department, they want to come speak to us. So, I mean, there's no reason anybody in this council would do that. You're always welcome to come. Fire department's welcome to come. Police department's welcome to come. You know, so, I mean, that's something we do here. We have these meetings for that reason. So, I mean, everybody else has to consider what they want to do, but I would never not let y'all come talk before us. You know that. Y'all part of the city. Police department part of the city. Our employees, same thing. We represent the people. And y'all represent a big part of the people. So there's no way, if that's the only reason we recognize you, I mean, I'm just trying to find out where we're going and what you're really looking for.
Well, I would respectfully say, sir, I wouldn't want to bring everything that we may talk with fire department management about to the city council. I think we'd be bringing too many issues over here before you. There's issues that crop up that may need to be put in an agreement where we're all working from the same paperwork. We know what it is, but even after you reach an agreement, continuing labor management meetings, usually put those in an agreement. There'll be quarterly labor management meetings between the union and the fire department administration. And to bring up any issues that the administration wants to discuss, or we to bring up any issues that we want to discuss. And that's usually part of an agreement, quarterly labor management meetings to discuss items that may not be covered by the agreement that may come up from time to time. And those don't normally come before the city council for your consideration.
But you just seen the agenda we just went through?
Yes, sir.
We used to do a lot of different things. That's no shock up here. Then you saw we do with the code enforcement. This is every week, so it's not a big deal to us. We deal with stuff constantly, you know, so you have to ask the rest of the council what they think. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Grotta.
Thank you. I got some questions that I wrote down as I'm listening. I guess that was a presentation you gave us. What is the due structure for membership in the union? Can you explain it?
Yeah, our international due structure is set by our delegates at convention. We hold a convention every 2 years, and our international delegates that come to convention from each of our locals that choose to attend set the dues that's paid to the international. Our international lets each local, such as Biloxi, decide what their individual dues will be. So they get to set their own due structure.
They can set it as zero?
They have to set it at least at the minimum of what they have to pay the international.
Okay, what would that
Pay
look?
the international on a monthly basis.
Give me an example.
Currently, right now, the international dues are $17.52 a month per member.
Per member, okay. What are the requirements for membership?
That you sign a membership card, that you take an oath to abide by the Constitution and bylaws that's been adopted by the international and by the local association.
Does that oath turn over the authority to some other person that could negotiate and that could increase dues themselves or other expenses to the association?
No, it's built into our bylaws where the dues, dues increases at the local level must be voted on by the members.
Other than dues, are there any other cost associated with union members that they have to incur other than their due structure? Is there any other cost, or is it just the dues?
That would be dependent upon a local. Some locals have chosen to add insurance coverage for a member. My home local of Memphis has an insurance policy. Each member has $10,000 of insurance coverage, and that's built into their due structure.
And would that be an option, or would that be required if
Not
they're-
an option. It was voted on by the membership and put in the 1970s. And
I
it's-
understand. So it would be a requirement, not an option. That's an additional cost in
Now,
addition to the dues.
there are some insurance companies out there that want to partner with us that do have optional insurance policies available to our membership. We actually own a financial corporation at our international, and we have individual option policies that our members in the United States and Canada can purchase at their option.
So the only two costs would be dues and these insurance or optional insurance costs. Are there any other, are there any other cost?
No, sir.
There's no other cost. It would be only these two.
Correct.
Okay, and my last question, how would, I heard a lot of the things that you stated in your opening remarks or presentation. A lot of that stuff we're providing now. We have grant writers that, for safer grants, and we provide some of the services and training and everything that you mentioned. But how would joining the union benefit not only the firefighters, but our community city as a whole and our quality of firefighting or firefighting services in the city? What's going to change? What's going to improve?
I think it improves employee morale, knowing that they have a seat at the table and they have a voice through their association. I think it improves recruitment and retention for those places that have collective bargaining. It's been shown to reduce on-the-job injuries and on-the-job deaths in associations that have written agreements and health and safety committees that are formed through those agreements. So there's a lot of benefits to having an association recognized. And like I said, if it wasn't working, I don't think Goshen or Pascagoula would have continued with their agreements for 20 and 30 years.
I understand. We're not talking about other cities. We're talking about Biloxi. We appreciate your expertise and your professionalism. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Go ahead.
Yes, I have just a few things about the union, and it's pretty much on the line of what George was talking about. Half of the troops are members of the association, correct? Of the union.
Yes, over half.
Okay, and do you have union stewards within the organization?
I'm not sure what you're referencing to.
What I'm asking is, from my experience of being on a union or in a union, if there was a discipline issue or anything come up, would that person be represented by a steward or a point person when it comes down to any disciplinary action or anything
I've
that
had
would
them
come
come
up?
to me, and then I'll turn it over to Danny Todd or whoever.
Okay.
So, yeah, we have had that.
Actually teach our local leadership. I understand the steward program you're referring to. We usually teach our local leadership to handle the grievances themselves, the ones that are elected by the members, our president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, or usually there's shift reps, one rep from each shift, but normally the president or vice president would handle any grievance that comes
So
up.
how many reps are within the organization, or especially the Biloxi Fire Department?
Right now, it'd be two.
Just two?
Yes.
Two.
Just
And
the
so if-
president and vice president right
And
now.
so if one of your troops was taken to one of the chiefs for a possible reprimand or something that could have possibly happened, would they have the right to ask that rep, and as we call them back in the day, stewards, sit in on the meeting if they felt necessary?
Not without a contract, no.
Not with your contract. Okay. Guess that answers my question.
Go ahead, Mr. Tisdale.
Yeah, just one other question. Derek, do you know how many firefighters have requested hearings before the City Civil Service Commission on any issue?
No, I
mean-
don't have that kind of number.
Okay.
I really don't know.
I don't recall any, but I've only been here for a decade, and I can't, I think, no fire, but on occasion, we've had a police officer here to be heard by the Civil Service Commission. Okay, that's, all right, thank you, that's it, thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah.
One quick question. With the people are talking about, y'all have some problem with somebody inside the police department, they go to one of the people you're talking about. Could y'all fine them or suspend them, or they have to still come to the city?
We don't, our disciplinary process as far as union members is spelled out in our Constitution and bylaws. If someone were to violate our Constitution and bylaws, not fire department policies, then there's an internal process that we use where you can bring charges, internal charges against a union member for violating the bylaws. And then they have a trial on that. That's an internal procedure we have. We don't discipline our member. We don't have the authority to discipline our members for something that happened as violation of city or fire department policy.
Well, what did you discipline to them? If somebody got in trouble, whatever happened?
That's up to the fire department management to decide what the discipline is.
So you'd have to go through the chief of police?
Then a member would have a right to, if he thought the discipline was incorrect, he would have a right to file a grievance under a formal grievance process, and then that would go first step, second step, and then final step, whatever that may be, in the agreed-upon grievance process.
And then you'd have to still go through the city?
Well, if it was I'm not sure what your civil service guidelines are here, but let's just say it was a termination, then I'm assuming he would have an appeal to civil service.
Yeah, I would
It's a
say that.
termination, but we would still go through that grievance process before we got to the civil service step.
I guess that was my question, how far y'all would go? Y'all really wouldn't fire anybody? Y'all could suspend them?
We don't suspend them, no, sir.
Okay, so,
We consider representation, and we're not, I teach our locals, we're not defense attorneys. If you're in the wrong, then you're in the wrong. Usually the executive board of a local would decide, a member files a grievance, we usually have a grievance committee internally within the association. They will look at that grievance and determine if it's a valid grievance or not, and whether to move forward. If they determine it's not a valid grievance, then that grievance does not move forward.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Gaines.
Yeah, and I want to touch back on that representative issue. What about non-members? Would they be covered under you guys, even though I think you may have mentioned
Have
that
to.
before?
That's the law.
That's the law, so they have to. Do any of us up here, any of you guys have any of their bylaws? Are your bylaws privy to us? Are we able to look at them?
I don't see why not.
Okay, and touching back on when I was talking about representation, you know, and my little experience with the union is that we were allowed to have a representative by us, you know, because a lot of times when you get into a room and you're in front of a room with a superior, usually it's 2 or 3 or 4 against 1. And when it's 2 or 3 or 4 against 1, and that person don't have a representative there, you know, that person can say anything and just about admit guilt. That's why I asked about the steward process, because if you're going to represent somebody, you're going to have to really represent them.
Yes, sir, we
You know.
usually have that as part of a written agreement, representation section that allows union representation at a hearing for any possible discipline. And
Right.
usually departments will notify an employee that he's going to have a hearing on a possible rule violation and what date that hearing will occur, and then that member or that employee who's a non-member would have the right to request union representation. It's his choice whether to utilize that or not, but yes, we like to be in the room when the hearing occurs to make sure the policies and the hearing process follows the written guidelines and the SOGs of the fire department.
Right, and that's the biggest thing that I was concerned about. If you're gonna have it and you're pretty much gonna send them out there by themselves, and these guys are paying these dues, and then they have to wait until the civil service, and by then, and in some cases, when you're on a job and that's your livelihood and you're almost scared for your life or your livelihood, you can admit to something that
Believe
probably
me.
is really nothing.
Yeah.
And that was my issue. What good is it if you don't, if you're going into the
Believe me,
meeting
they
and you
will
don't have
call
that
you.
representation there?
My experience has been, and I've been doing this for over 40 years, they will call you. Once they're notified that there's a discipline possibly going to occur with them, you will get a phone call and say, hey, this is the date of my hearing, I need you there. So, and we show up and we represent our members and non-members if they request. So,
Okay, and I guess where I'm getting, let me bring it back down to the core. If an infraction happens and they're going before one or two of these chiefs here by themselves, are they able to call, I call them stewards, you guys call them representatives, are they allowed to have that representative in that room with them?
I'm not sure currently what the process is here, but in a written agreement we have, yes, they would have that right.
Okay, thank you.
Just have one thing, and pardon my ignorance on this, but I know you mentioned the 1752 earlier. Whatever that number is, not that that's the exact number, it's the responsibility of the city to pay for that, or each firefighter pays for that?
Each local collects dues from its members, and each month the local is sent an invoice from the international, and they pay that invoice.
Okay.
Each local union pays the invoice based on the number of members they have. So if our roster shows 10 members, then they'll pay 10 times 1752. Whatever that number is, they'll pay that to the international on a monthly basis.
Okay.
Each member's paying his dues.
Each firefighter, okay.
Each member's paying the local.
Right.
The local's paying the total bill on their members each month.
Okay, thank you.
So
That's $210 a year. Does that price change much?
We have a convention this August, and whatever the delegates at that convention pass, that number could change.
Okay, thank you.
So the firemen that haven't opted into the union, but you have to service them because of the agreement, they don't pay the monthly dues? They do?
Correct.
Okay. All right, anything else?
Yeah,
Any,
I would love to read it if you could make it available to us.
The Constitution and
Yes,
bylaws
yes,
of the
please.
local.
I'll have to get you a copy of that. I don't currently have it on me.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
any closing remarks?
Yeah, I would just like to know the process from the council going forward, and if we could have an up or down vote on this, I would request that. This, I don't know if all of you are aware, this meeting today resulted out of the settlement of a lawsuit. And so I think in good conscience to settle everything that's gone on over the last couple of years with the court ordering this workshop, that we would have an up or down vote on a possible resolution recognizing the local. I think they deserve that.
I take it the mayor would be presenting something that we would work on?
I think a good start would be, like you said, he'll give us opportunity to
Yes, sir.
see what you
I'll be-
guys have,
I'll be glad to share
so
it.
you won't,
I'll-
go in
After
blind.
this is over, I'll bring my card up to you. Any of you feel, if you want to email me, I can electronically send you some of the stuff you've requested to you. Be glad to.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't meaning today, I just meaning that if we could stay in communications and at some point
I
in
understand that,
time.
but I'm just saying, still, if you want up and down vote, they're gonna have to put something on the table for us to vote for or against. So that's all I was saying, Mike, and we'll get with the mayor and let them check it legally, write up what you have to, whatever, if the council wants to do that. So that'd be our next step. Like I said, we could check more into the union and the bylaws, but to do that an up and down vote, then something has to be brought to the table from the administration.
I wasn't trying to be disrespectful, I was just
No, hey,
trying to say, hey, I wanted to make that point before I left here today.
we weren't gonna call you Sarah Lou. We'd be nice to you.
All right, thank you, guys. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Motion by Mr. Tisdale,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Guines. All in favor? Unanimous votes. Meeting is adjourned.